Let's play a quick game. Raise a finger for each one that's true. Raise a finger if you've ever come home from work, promised yourself you'd be productive, and ended up scrolling your phone for an hour. Raise another if you've said just one episode, and suddenly it's midnight. Raise a third if you've ever sat down to do something important, but instead drifted aimlessly on YouTube or TikTok. And raise one more if you've told yourself, tomorrow will be different, but tomorrow never was. If you dropped even one finger, this video is for you, because I know that cycle too well. I used to sit at work dreaming of my evenings, couldn't wait for freedom, but when evening came, I wasted it. Every single time. Until I made a few changes. 12 easy things that helped me transform wasted evenings into growth time. And in the next few minutes, you'll learn exactly what I did. From how I shut down distractions to how I built small systems that made evenings the best part of my day. By the end, you'll have everything you need to reclaim your evenings and turn them into your secret advantage. Chapter 1. Create an evening anchor. One simple activity that gave my nights direction, even when everything else was busy. Because here's the truth. Not everyone comes home to a quiet evening. Some of us come home to families, kids, or a list of chores that can easily eat up the whole night. And by the time you're done cleaning, sorting, or helping others, you're too tired to do anything for yourself. That's why an anchor matters. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be something small and intentional that you can hold on to, no matter how packed your evening gets. For me, it started with reading 10 pages before bed. That was my anchor. For you, it might be journaling a single line, stretching for 5 minutes, or even sitting quietly with a cup of tea once the house is settled. Anchors work because they give your evening a sense of purpose beyond the chores. Instead of the night vanishing into tasks, you know there's at least one thing you did just for yourself. So if your evenings often feel swallowed up by responsibilities, pick one easy anchor. Keep it light. Keep it realistic.
Chapter 2. Rest. When tired. You get home drained from work, you sit down for just 5 minutes, and suddenly it's bedtime. That's not rest. That's collapse. And the truth is, when you don't rest properly, your brain finds sneaky ways to steal energy later, like endless scrolling or snacking. So instead of fighting it, I started building short, intentional breaks into my evenings. A 25-minute nap, a hot shower, lying down with my eyes closed and no phone. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to give your brain a real reset. The key is to set a timer or decide the end point before you start. That way, rest doesn't spill over into the whole evening. Think of it as charging your phone. A quick boost, not an overnight plug-in. And here's the magic. Once you give yourself guilt-free rest, you actually have energy left to do the things you care about. You stop dreading evenings because you know you'll have enough fuel to enjoy them. So don't push through exhaustion, but don't collapse into it either. Rest with intention, then get back to living your evening. Chapter 3. Cut the hidden time traps. For me, that mostly meant my phone. I'd get home, open it, just for a second, and then look up an hour later wondering where my evening went. The truth is, phones are designed to pull you in. Every notification, every scroll gives your brain a little reward, and it's really hard to stop once you've started. So instead of trying to have willpower every night, I changed the setup. When I got home, I put my phone on charge in another room. That's it. No app blockers, no complicated systems. Just move it out of reach. The other trap was aimless screen time. Scrolling Netflix or YouTube forever trying to pick something. So I made a rule. If I was going to watch something, I decided what before I sat down. That one change saved me hours. The point isn't to ban your screens, it's to make them less automatic. Because once you stop falling into those traps, you realize how much of your evening is actually available again.
Chapter 4. Stop letting evenings drift. The first easy thing I did to stop wasting my evenings was simple. I stopped letting them drift. Because here's what usually happens. You finish work, come home, and before you know it, the evening has disappeared. For some of us, that drift looks like scrolling through our phone endlessly, binging shows, or just zoning out. But for others, especially if you've got a family, it looks like jumping straight into chores, sorting things, helping everyone else, and by the time you sit down, the night is already gone. That's why I started giving my evenings direction. For me, it began with a tiny shutdown ritual, closing my laptop, clearing my desk, and writing down tomorrow's first task. It told my brain, work is done. Life begins. If you've got a family, your ritual might look different. It could be as simple as changing clothes, having dinner together, or setting a time when work mode officially ends and home mode begins. Then, I made it even easier. I set just one goal for the evening. Sometimes it was reading the Bible. Sometimes it was tidying one corner. Your evening is like a boat. If you don't steer it, it drifts away. Chapter 5. Energy Reset. Your evening energy works in a cycle most people never notice. Here's how it goes. Right after work, your energy dips. You've been making decisions all day, so your brain feels drained. That's when most of us collapse on the couch, scroll our phones, or fall into Netflix. But if you push through that first dip, something interesting happens. Your energy actually rises again in the early evening. Psychologists call it the second wind. It's that sweet spot where your brain is still awake, but no longer under the pressure of the workday. That window is gold. That's when you can read, learn, create, or connect. And it feels easier because your brain is free. Then, naturally, energy drops again before bed. That's your body telling you it's time to wind down. So I began using simple energy resets. A walk after dinner, stretching, drinking water. Tiny things that kept me awake enough to enjoy that second wind. And then, when it was time, I wound down and slept better. Evenings aren't leftovers. They're the hours that decide how much tomorrow will give you back. The sixth easy thing I did was using social strategies, not in the sense of going out every night, but learning how small connections can completely change how an evening feels. When I spent evenings totally alone or stuck in my own head, I felt drained, even if I rested. But when I shared part of the evening with someone else, whether it was family, friends, or even a short call, I ended the night with more energy, not less. If you've got a family, this might be as simple as eating dinner together without phones, or taking 10 minutes to really talk to your partner or kids. These little rituals don't take more time. They make the time you already spend together feel richer. And if you live alone or feel disconnected, it can be just as easy. Call a friend while you do chores. Send a voice note. Play an online game with someone you enjoy. Social energy doesn't have to mean big gatherings. It just means not isolating yourself every single night. Why does this matter? Because humans are wired for connection. Even a short, meaningful interaction can reset your mood and make your evening feel worthwhile. So if your evenings feel empty or repetitive, add one small social touch. It's not about being extroverted. It's about reminding yourself that life is better shared, even in the smallest ways. Chapter 7. Psychological shortcuts. These are simple tricks that take the pressure off willpower and make it easier to do the things you actually want to do. The first is the 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it right away. Hanging up your coat, washing a dish, replying to a short message, these little tasks pile up if you delay them. Doing them instantly keeps your evening clear instead of cluttered. The second shortcut is habit stacking. This means attaching a new habit to something you already do. For example, if you always boil water for tea at night, use those few minutes to journal one sentence or stretch. By linking it to an existing habit, the new one sticks without effort. And here's a powerful one: reframing choice. Instead of asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" ask, "Will I be glad I did this in 30 minutes?" That tiny shift changes everything, because the answer is almost always yes. These shortcuts might sound small, but that's the point. They're designed to bypass the resistance that usually kills your evenings. Chapter 8. Mindfulness and Emotional Recharge. The eighth easy thing I did was learning to recharge emotionally, not just physically. Evenings aren't only about rest. They're also about clearing your mind and resetting how you feel. One simple way I started doing this was journaling. Not a long essay, just a few lines. What went well today? What stressed me out? Writing it down got the thoughts out of my head and onto paper. It felt like closing mental tabs on a browser. Another was gratitude practice. Again, simple, just naming one thing I was thankful for before bed. It sounds small, but it shifted my focus from what was missing to what I already had. That single change made my evenings feel lighter. And then there's mindful moments, sitting quietly for 5 minutes, focusing on breathing, or even just being present while drinking tea, not scrolling, not multitasking, just being. These pauses helped me reset, more than another episode of a show ever could. Here's the key. Mindfulness doesn't have to mean meditation retreats or hours of silence. It's about small practices that clear space in your head and let you recharge emotionally. When you give yourself that space, your evenings stop feeling like leftovers from a stressful day. They start feeling like a reset button, preparing you to handle tomorrow with a clearer mind. Chapter 9. Creative Outlets. Now, when I say creative, I don't mean painting masterpieces or writing a novel. I mean giving yourself space to make something, learn something, or play with ideas, instead of just consuming content. For me, it started small. I picked up guitar for 15 minutes some nights. Other times, I sketched, even if it was messy. On different nights, I tried writing short notes about things I'd learned. None of it was perfect. That wasn't the point. The point was that creating gave me energy. It turned evenings into something I looked forward to, because I wasn't just passing time. I was making something out of it. If you've got a family, this can be as simple as doing a puzzle with your kids, cooking a new recipe together. Even if you think you're not a creative person, try something small. Plant herbs on your balcony. Learn a few words in another language. Chapter 10. Sleep Hygiene. Protect the next day. How you sleep tonight decides how tomorrow feels. For years, I treated evenings like a free-for-all, and I paid for it every morning. Staying up late, scrolling in bed, drinking caffeine too late, all of it stacked up into tired mornings and wasted days. It finally clicked for me. My evenings were shaping my days more than my mornings were shaping my evenings. So I made a few easy changes. First, I set a cutoff time for screens. No endless scrolling right before bed. The blue light and constant stimulation were tricking my brain into staying awake long after I was tired. Second, I made bedtime more predictable. Not strict, but consistent enough that my body started expecting rest at the same time. That single habit made falling asleep easier than forcing myself with willpower. And third, I replaced late-night caffeine or heavy meals with lighter choices. Even switching to herbal tea made a huge difference in how rested I felt. The point isn't to aim for perfect sleep every night. It's to set up your evenings so that rest comes naturally. Because when you protect your sleep, you're not just saving the night. You're setting up tomorrow to actually work for you. Chapter 11. Environment Reset. The space you come home to shapes how your evening unfolds. For parents, evenings are often the busiest time of the day. You get home, and instead of relaxing, there's dinner to make, kids to help, messes to clean, and chores waiting in every corner. By the time you're done, it feels like the whole evening slipped away. That's why I started making small changes to my environment. Nothing big, just little resets that signaled the evening is mine now. Sometimes it was dimming the lights after dinner to make the house feel calmer. Other times it was tidying one small spot, like clearing the table or making the living room feel less chaotic. Those tiny resets made the whole space feel different. If you've got kids, this could be creating a wind-down corner, reading together before bed, or playing soft music that shifts the mood from busy to calm. Your environment doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to remind you that the day has changed. When you reset your space, even for a few minutes, your evening stops feeling wasted and starts feeling like a time you own, no matter how short it is. Chapter 12. Integration. Keep it simple. Here's the trap most people fall into. They see a list of tips and think they need to do all of them right away. That's not the point. The point is to pick one easy thing tonight and let that small win carry you forward. When I first started, I didn't overhaul my whole evening. I picked one anchor, reading a few pages before bed, and stuck with it. That tiny change gave me momentum to add more. Over time, the 12 things you've heard about today built into a system, But it didn't start that way. If you've got a busy family life or your evenings already feel short, the last thing you need is another heavy routine. That's why I call these easy things. They're flexible, they're light, and you can make them fit the life you already have. So don't pressure yourself to master everything at once. Just choose one. Put your phone in another room, or take a short walk, or start an evening anchor. Whatever feels simplest. And remember that raise a finger game we started with? Imagine playing it again in a few weeks. And this time, you're dropping fewer fingers. That's how you know your evenings are changing. One small win at a time. Your evenings don't have to disappear anymore. Even one of these easy shifts can change how tomorrow feels. Try it tonight and see the difference for yourself. And if you want more simple ways to turn wasted time into growth time, subscribe to The Creative Shift. This is just the beginning.